Welcome to Liberty Hill, where faith, freedom, and family take center stage. I'm Sherrie Conley, a mom, a grandmother, a former state representative, a former educator, a child advocate, and someone who believes in protecting our values for the next generation.
And I'm Kendra Wesson, a former state school board member and previous board member of a charter in Norman. I'm also a passionate voice for families and advocate for liberty, and together we are diving deep into the conversations that matter most to you.
If you're concerned about education, parental rights, protecting children, and the future of our nation and our state, you've come to the right place.
We're here to challenge the status quo, speak truth boldly, and equip you with the knowledge and tools to stand up for what's right. After all, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, that's good. Each episode will tackle the tough issues, whether it's the battle over school choice, threats to our constitutional freedom, or exposing the agendas shaping the futures of our children.
And we're not just here to talk. We're here to inspire action, offer solutions, and bring hope to families who feel like they're fighting this battle alone.
So if you believe in faith, freedom, and the power of strong families, join us on Liberty Hill each week, Mondays at 6 p.m.
Be sure to subscribe, follow, and share, and let's build a community of bold voices that will not be silenced.
Welcome to Liberty Hill, where we take a stand and we never back down.
Well, happy Cinco de Mayo. This is Kendra and Sherrie coming to you from Liberty Hill. We had an exciting adventure this weekend. We hopped on a plane, flew to Phoenix, and attended the Mom Army Summit for Child Abuse Awareness, probably awareness.
Yep.
We were kind of debating about what we remembered it being called. Liberty Institute was there, Blexit, Turning Point USA, Turning Point Faith, which is a great new chapter of Turning Point. The Turning Point Faith is just wonderful. There was a sex crimes detective there talking about how to keep your kids safe, a bunch of vendors, lots of attendees, a whole group of moms from there in Arizona who started this Mom Army. They had people in from California and other states. I think we were the furthest away.
I think there was the mom and daughter group from Alabama.
That's right. I forgot about that. They were very sweet.
Yep, they were.
And we just listened to the stories and shared. And they went around the room as they were asking us where we were all from. And as soon as we said Oklahoma, they were like, "What are you doing here? You have nothing to worry about. You're a red state." And Sherrie and I were like, no. But don't worry, Okies. We didn't sell you out. We didn't tell them all our dirty secrets. But we did let them know that I think it's tougher sometimes here because you have so many Republicans and we are very red. It makes it hard to discern maybe who's not loyal to the platform, we'll say, because there are describing words we're trying not to use.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Sherrie, what was your takeaway? What was your favorite thing? I guess it's hard to be favorite, but what was the thing you got the most out of?
Yeah, I was going to say it's kind of hard to think about it in favorites.
It was heavy, wasn't it?
It was very heavy. So many stories and actually victim stories that were there. It wasn't just somebody telling victim stories. A woman was there so that she had been sexually trafficked 6,000 times.
That was hard to hear.
I'm hoping that maybe you could go on the Mom Army website and find the speakers and hear what they all had to say, because so much of it, I think my takeaway from it is that it made me realize, I always knew this deep down, that, we're not isolated, that we're not on an island, and that we're not facing these things, just us.
Yeah.
But it became very real that there are other states that are seeing and experiencing the exact same things we are: the trafficking of children, the DHS issues, and of course the sexual assault in schools.
And that's the Department of Human Services here in Oklahoma. Other states call it CPS, Child Protective Services. They have different names, and they're also experiencing those same battles. One thing that I really had a tough time with was just, hearing all those survivor stories and hearing how much cell phones and devices played into every single story consistently.
Yeah.
And the sex trafficker that was there, she actually gave us some great tips on what to do if you realize that your child is having a conversation with someone who is unsavory. So number one, don't delete. Number two, don't tip off the predator. Call the police. They're ready to deal with it. They'll send someone out who's experienced, and they can finish the conversation with them and hopefully stop them from doing this to another child.
And they actually said don't log out.
Don't log out because it all disappears.
Yeah, it all disappears.
Yeah.
And they gave the advice that, if you realize that something is actually happening, that you just lay the phone down. You lay the computer down, lay the phone down, and don't do anything but call the police immediately.
Glad you remembered that, because she stressed that.
She
did
did
not get rid of your evidence.
Yes. And not to delete it, not to close it out, none of that. Just to leave it and let them finish the conversation, because they have a better chance of actually catching them if you actually preserve the evidence and not do anything drastic that would tip them off. Because you tip them off, if they get suspicious, they're gone, and you've lost them at that point. And so, that was interesting.
And how she said we've got to clear our minds of what we think a predator is.
That's right.
They're the nice guy down the street. They're the basketball coach. They're the scout leader that your kid, and I'm not calling out anybody. I'm just saying we have this ideal that predators look and act a certain way, and they're actually very charismatic. Otherwise they wouldn't, be able to lure people in.
Yeah. They're not the monster hiding underneath the bed, and they're not the predator at Target or Walmart waiting to grab your children. They're actually the people that know your children best, and looking for an opportunity to take advantage of them. And it all starts with grooming. We've talked about it a lot on the show, but things like isolating their victims, having conversations, sharing pornography,
gifts,
things like that to break down those walls, and gain the trust with the young person, and then that's when they go in and start taking advantage.
And it made me feel good about our rule. And she reiterated the overnight sleepovers. We have a very limited sleepover rule, if we do sleepovers at all, because you don't know who's in that home. Is it an older brother? Is it cousins stopping by? Uncle, grandpa? There's same-sex sexual abuse happening between children. So it really made me happy that we have that rule. It definitely reinforced my thought. And then there was something else that was really cool, was the moms that were there. There was a mom there who was like, look, I'm from California. I've been a gangbanger my whole life. She's tattooed from about right here all the way down. And she said, I've been incarcerated. But I tell you what, when they started messing with my kids, I got my head on straight and I went to war. And I think that's why they probably call it Mom Army, because we are in a war. But hearing her, and, guys, you just don't mess with moms. If you really, moms are a tough crowd to pick a fight with. And, we have a great mom group here, HPR, and they call themselves Mama Bears. And, just like a mama bear, a human mom will claw you.
Yeah, they will. I gravitate more towards thinking about lioness, and you and I've had this conversation. And the reason why is because the lionesses actually are the ones who protect the herd, or the pride. And one of the things that Lisa Bevere says in her book Lioness Arising, is that the lionesses, they hunt together, they sleep together, they raise their children together, and they fight together, and they protect their young together. And so that's kind of the reason why I kind of gravitate towards the lioness, because bears, they raise their young in isolation.
They do.
And I tend to think of us, when we all get together, that it's the way that it used to be. It's like, you're messing with one kid, you're messing, it's everybody's kid. And, we tend to be very protective of our pride. And so,
And we're part of a great group that's come together across the state over the last 5 years. I feel like we have connections all over Oklahoma coming together to do different things and work on issues affecting our families and our kids. That's been a big movement.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was heavy. I know Saturday night we just felt like we've been run over by a bus after listening to those stories all day. There was one on a transition. A father was fighting for his little boy. He and mom were divorced, and mom starts transitioning son to a girl. And
heartbreaking.
It was so sad. And here this dad is court ordered to pay for the insurance to transition his son against his will.
Yep.
Mom's got the courts on her side. I don't even know how that's happening. California.
Yeah.
And that his story was especially hard, and he, man, that transitioning is just not a good thing.
Yeah.
What other stories did we hear? We had the soccer coach.
Yep. Let's see, what is her name? Haley Kozak.
Yep.
She actually got a law passed in Arizona called Haley's Law. And it is, I think, it seems like maybe you can remember, it's a lifelong protective order.
Yes, so they can never contact them again.
Yeah, a lifelong protective order against their abuser. And she really learned a lot. It was really interesting listening to her story, because one of the things that she discovered when they passed the law the first time was that she got it all done. She was so excited, and then realized that the law that they had passed didn't have any teeth in it.
Which happens here all the time.
And she was very disappointed. But she went back at it the next year and ended up getting it changed and got some teeth put in it. And so that was an interesting story to hear a young girl tell her story about how she fought so hard for legislation against her abuser, and then had to go back and do it all over again. Mom
of 5 now, 5 kids.
Yep.
And you had a bill that you got through that was messed with this session. That was one of those protection bills for kids from predators.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm very disappointed in the way it came out, because when it was first released, it actually had a clause in there that made it to where a school employee could actually be the guardian on the text message with the child. Well, my problem with that, it was in relationship to homeless children. And, homeless children, they live in a home somewhere, whether it's some kind of a boys' home or a girls' home, or, some kind of a shelter or something. I mean, they have to in order to be able to come to school, right? And so there's someone who is responsible for them.
Some type of guardian, whether it's the state, foster, the home.
Yes. Maybe they live with a family friend. And that friend's parent can be that adult on that text message. And so the author wanted to add the liaison for the McKinney-Vento Act, which is the Homeless Act, wanted to add that person as the guardian on the text message. And, I'm fighting it, going, okay, no, you cannot make a school employee the guardian on that, because you never know who that person is. That could very well be a predator, and here you're handing that child over to the predator at that point. And then, of course, we saw the article that came out of Colorado where the school employee changed the designation of a student on the student records at the school to homeless, and then moved the young girl into his home. And so you just never know who is out there, who is going to manipulate the system, who's going to take advantage. And so making someone who is in the school, I don't understand why the school would want somebody in their employment to have that responsibility. And I don't understand why a school employee would want that responsibility anyway, because it just,
Well,
you know,
Colorado's big on community schools and
Yes.
the child being taken care of
yeah,
at school. And I just had a thought. Of, you know, does it end at the school door? You know, does all of that stop when a child goes to school? Because it feels like in other areas, whether it be church, youth group, scouts, any other area, if there was any accusation of abuse of any kind, everybody would lose their mind and want it investigated. But from what I'm seeing, when it happens in a school, the conversation turns to, well, that's their livelihood. I don't
Mhm.
want to ruin someone's livelihood by
Mhm.
pulling their teaching certificate or their, but guess what? Who's ruining the livelihood? If you're being inappropriate with a student, then that's probably where the ruining starts.
Yeah.
And those people have made that decision already.
Yeah.
Now we all know there's situations where things aren't true and can be said, but it's the cell phones and that communication
Mhm.
and that private communication. You know, we had a teacher here in Oklahoma who was sending Snapchats to students in bed, you know, with no shirt on.
Mhm.
He wasn't showing his private parts or anything like that. No shirt on, in bed, sheet up. But there's still that sense of the conversation that happens now. Oh, are you in bed? I'm in bed.
Mhm.
And then it just goes from there. And
It does.
kids are so innocent and it's so hard. And we talked about before how it doesn't always feel bad to a kid to have this kind of attention and affection. It's
Mhm.
not it's a very slow, loving process. And I just love what that detective said. She said, you just have to completely clear your mind of what it's going to look like, what a predator looks like, what the behavior is going to look like.
That's
Clear
right.
your mind and
Mhm.
just, you know, start fresh. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We learned a lot.
Yeah.
It was, it's
Yeah.
nice to see some moms fighting though.
It does. Yep, it is. It's very good. And what I hope is that all states have some kind of group that is fighting this. I know, we've had conversations with some moms from Texas that are fighting this, and
Mhm.
so we know Texas and Arizona and Oklahoma are fighting it. And I would really be interested to see what the other states are doing about this. Um, and the problem uh, is that we've got so many people saying, not in my district, not in my school, not in my state, not my kid. And we have to let all of that go. We have to truly put all of that away, because and I put hashtag on all of my posts, like, the data doesn't lie. um, there were as of yesterday, there were 330 predators on my list, and I am going to have to go home today and add 3 more.
My goodness.
Yep, ones that I didn't that I wasn't aware of. And a story came out from Choctaw Nakoma Park, and I think the post had 7, maybe 8 on there, and there were 4. I think 4 of the names I already had on my list.
Wow.
But 3 of them I did not. And so, ranging anywhere from 2013 all the way up to 2025. And so, and the interesting thing about the post is that the post was stating that it was the same guy. He had started out in 2012. He was the high school principal, and then he moved to the assistant superintendent, and now he's the superintendent of the schools. And so all of those 7 or 8 predators happened on his watch. There's a problem there if you've got predators that are working on your watch, and you still have a job. As a parent, that's one of the things that I want to try to impress on parents and on families and on mothers that are looking to get involved. You don't have to come and do the research and do the digging. You don't have to go to conferences out of state and listen to these heavy stories. But what you can do is go to your local school board and ask them, what policies do you have in place to protect children? Not policies. I mean, you still want those policies that deal with it after the fact, but nobody wants to deal with it after the fact. We have to be putting things in place that are safeguards, guardrails, and policies that are designed to properly vet someone who already has a background check through the federal background, the FBI. We need people at the district level doing their due diligence in vetting the people that are coming through. And those are the policies that need to be in place. And I've got some other ideas that I've put together, and we're going to put those on the website so that people can go on the website and look and see what policies need to be in place at their school.
And that's going to be on the Broken Trust
That
website.
will be on the Broken Trust website. And they'll be able to go on there and look at the policies that need to be in place in their public schools. And then they can go from there and go to their schools and say, do you have this policy? Do you have this policy? Where are your policies? Show me what you have. And they can always do FOIA requests to their own district and ask the school, how many reports have you had of predation in our schools, and when did those happen?
It's a great question for people running for board as well. Are you willing to protect children?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should have a thing for them to sign and say, if we're going to support you if you run, but are you willing to protect children and do this policy and look at this? Maybe we could do some kind of agreement.
That is beautiful.
Of that kind. I don't know.
That's
I don't know.
beautiful.
We've got to have stronger school boards, so that's a big piece of it.
Well, Moms for Liberty did a pledge, and maybe that's something that Broken Trust needs to do, is put together some sort of pledge that school board members could sign, and and then we could put out there for the people to have access to that pledge to put towards their school board members and even their representatives and their senators. It's like, what are you going to do to help protect our children? Are you willing to run legislation and support legislation that protects our children, not just supporting them after the fact, but supporting them so that we can stop it? The goal is to stop it. We're not going to stop it 100%, but there's definitely some things that we can put in place that will disincentivize people from doing it in our public schools.
Yeah, all that's definitely needed.
Yeah.
So we learned what we could, picked up what we could, hopefully made some connections to start growing that network across the U.S., not just here in Oklahoma. Like Sherrie said, it's happening. It's happening. I mean, the increase in pornography, and they did some really great slides. We also saw a great 30-minute video that we want to try to set up a screening for everybody to come and watch it. It's a must see. It's very concise, very, wow. It will definitely make you think about all of this. She did a very good job. So we're going to try to get that put together. And then we came back to Oklahoma, and I'm going to throw this on you because we weren't sure if we were going to talk about it, but we came back to Oklahoma, and then we got a new state Republican chair.
Yes.
How is it? How is it worded? The chair of the Oklahoma GOP.
Yep, she's the Oklahoma state of Oklahoma GOP chair.
Charity Lynch. So we want to tell her congratulations, and then her vice chair, of course, will be
Wayne
Hill. And there's something I noticed last time when Nathan Dahm was elected. As soon as he was elected, there was just a group of people ready to just pounce and tear him down, warranted or not. That's not really the point I'm after here. And then Charity, we're seeing that same thing happen. And I asked Sherrie, I was like, I just remember there being such a respect that when your candidate lost, someone else won, you at least had the thought of, okay, well, they won fair and square, try to get behind them, still be a part of it, hopefully make some good change. But this new bombarding of these newly elected people by a small group of people, I will say, is disturbing, because I don't know who doesn't get weary and just battle worn, just having to fight for every little thing we get. I know Charity personally. Some of the people who are coming out against her don't, and that makes me sad that you don't know her, because she has really been a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Do we agree on 100% of things? Probably not. I don't agree with many people that high of a percentage,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that for me, I'm very excited to see what we can do as a party.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so we came back to that news, and then
so I want to talk a little bit if you're ready to pause.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about this because I was having a conversation with someone on Facebook regarding Charity and her personal beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And and they were accusing her of some things, and and I started taking up for Charity. I don't know what Charity's beliefs are, but I do understand one of the comments supposedly that she made, and so I started saying, well, I think we all have different viewpoints, especially if we go to different churches and we belong to different denominations. We all have a different viewpoint. Hopefully they're all biblical, but that we just come at it from different angles. And so this person was being very critical of Charity and being very critical of some things that she said, and I just said, well, hey, wait a minute, because what you're accusing her of, not all people who believe in that are radical, like what you're accusing Charity of being. And so, I just started sharing, here's what I know about this, and that there is, with everything, with every religion, there are people who are going to take it just, to the nth degree, and
everything has an extremist.
Everything has an extremist. And so I started taking up for Charity, and anyway, this person ended up, and I wasn't being rude. I was just saying, here's what most people who believe this way, this is what we think. It's not about, what you're accusing Charity of, and whether she believes that or not. I kind of feel like you need to not be accusatory towards her, because somebody is going to look at you and me and think that some of the beliefs that we have might be radical or extreme. And so that's the whole point of America, is to be
melting pot.
Well, not just a melting pot, but also to let everyone have their own religious viewpoint, right?
Right.
And religious freedom. That's what our country is founded on, is religious freedom. And so it really kind of, from somebody who claims to be a conservative and a Christian, I was very concerned about the way that post was going and the things that she said. And so I woke up this morning and she has blocked me, and so all of my comments are gone, which I don't care. That's fine, whatever. But now, there's no civil discourse. And so I got to thinking, I didn't play sports. I was a ballerina. And so, but I do have two sons and my husband, all three of them played sports. And, you go to a high school and junior high basketball, football, baseball games, and they play their hearts out on the field and they give it all they've got to win the game, to beat the other team. But then they line up and they shake hands after the game is over.
We teach them that. How many times did your kids? I know my kids were like, I don't want to shake their hand.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, you
I'm
are.
Sorry, you're going.
That's
to.
good sportsmanship.
It is
right.
Good sportsmanship.
That's a great analogy for that.
And so, here we are having a civil discussion, debate, whatever you want to call it, about religious beliefs, and sharing thoughts about this other viewpoint. And the next thing I know, I'm deleted and blocked. And that just really made me sad, because at the end of the day, if we're all Republicans, you go out and you fight your battle. It's like whenever I ran as representative, I won. And some ugly things were said between Bobby and I. And but at the end of the day, we're on the same side.
And I love seeing you two together. There's such grace and friendship between you, and respect and forgiveness, and that's I don't know why. I don't know if it's social media that's making us so much more critical and vulgar behind the scenes. Makes it easier because you're not having to face that person. But
Yeah.
I know it just hurt my heart a bit because I was like, here we go again. Someone gets elected, and instead of talking about vision and what we're going to do, where we're going to go, the things that are going to happen, who's going to be serving with them,
Yeah.
we're just immediately right off the bat, something sort of unrelated. I mean, your religion or what you believe in follows you everywhere, but it feels unrelated to this position. And I still just can't get past, how do you segregate God out of one piece of your life? How do you say, kids, it's okay to have God at home, but we don't have God at school, or I'm not going to have God at work? I mean, it doesn't, we've got a lot of faiths here in Oklahoma. There's a Wiccan faith. There's many different things, and all those faiths used to come to the I used to come to the school board meeting, and as long as they weren't infringing on my personal liberties, that's their belief. I can respect their belief while fully disagreeing with it.
Yeah.
And that really used to be a thing. And I guess that's part of this moral decay that we're seeing, is not being able to agree well.
Yeah. Well, and going back to taking God with you wherever you go, the Bible tells us to go ye into all of the world. And that doesn't mean and that doesn't mean, leave your faith at home when you go ye. And then he also tells us to occupy until he comes. Well, if you think about the word occupy, the word occupation, has the root word occupy in it. And so as a career or job or occupation, the Bible says, occupy until I come. Well, go ye into your workplace and occupy until I come. And of course, I know those don't go together. I know those are out of separate books, but
it's that mantle of responsibility we bear as Christians too. And I think part of that mantle and part of that saying is also to show that light in yourself by being, I love that saying where it says, Jesus sat at a table full of sinners. Yes. But he didn't sit there to become like them. He didn't let that affect him. And I don't know, we could go on and on. You and I get going on that. We might be.
Yeah.
But I'm just prayerful, and I hope everybody will join us in prayer that we move forward and work towards our goal. What is the definition and the goal of what we're trying to do? And
I think it's important that people remember that united doesn't mean that we're all of the same mindset. That's not what that means.
That's right.
Working together towards the same goal. And, God chose his 12 disciples. They all had different backgrounds. And the reason why is because they all brought something different to the table. And that's what we have to remember as Christians, is that we all bring our own gifts. God, he didn't say, here, I'm going to give you all of the gifts. He said, that there's going to be certain gifts that you're going to have. And, we're expected to use those gifts.
And those gifts are all not for us.
That's yes.
The tree grows the fruit and shares the fruit. The tree doesn't eat its own fruit.
That's right.
It shares the fruit, and those gifts are to be shared. But
that's beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's one of my faves. Yeah. But
and it's really heart wrenching to see. I was gonna say that finishing the thought about Bobby, that we came together and we buried the hatchet and not in each other's back, and we said, we're going to work for the good of Oklahoma and the good of the people. And that's what you have to do. Even if you don't 100% agree, we're not always going to agree. I mean, I love Reagan and him saying, the 80%, that we're still on the same side of the fence, even though we only agree 80% of the time. And so it just is really, really sad to me that less than 48 hours from Charity and Wayne getting elected to be the chair and the vice chair of the Oklahoma GOP, that they're already getting attacked. And we need to rally behind them. And we need to say, what is our part in this, and do what we can to go into the world and do the work.
And I guess, that somewhat that's not going to happen. So I just pray that we keep our eye on the ball and don't get distracted by the detractors, because there's a lot of work to be done.
Lots of work
and things that we want to accomplish. I just love our state, and even being away and going to Phoenix, and it was nice to come back here.
Oklahoma,
especially when it was like 150 degrees. We were like, wow, it was like July, August weather here, there. And while we were somewhat prepared, it was definitely hot.
Yeah. May 1st. And it's like July weather. It's like Oklahoma, July weather. Yeah. It was brutal. And so, and you know, the other part of that is that the place where we had the event was right across the street, from the
Maricopa. We're like, are you serious?
Board,
the Maricopa election board right across the street. I walked up the front and I was like, no way.
Yep.
This can't be real.
It's like, that's where all the magic happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some kind of slippery things happen there.
Yep.
Well, we've had a lot of great grassroots wins in Oklahoma recently. And I love that people are coming from all over and realizing that we're tired of the chessboard games. We want authenticity. We want people who are there to actually serve the people. These backroom government politic business deals are not wanted any longer, if they ever were. But really, the Lord is in a season of exposing and shaking things up. I think it's going to be a rough ride through 2026, but we all know we come out better on the end. There's nothing wrong with some leaves shaken to the ground while our roots continue to grow. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what who all's going to continue to enter the races for different things. And no, I don't know if Ryan Walters is running for governor. I've asked the man, he will not answer. So he's holding that tight, whatever he's planning on doing. I'd love to see him continue to be our superintendent. So yeah, there's a lot going on, but I'm just proud of the votes that are coming out. We have Dr. Nicole Kish here in Norman, who's been working on introducing precincts and counties to all of their new voters and making sure that they're greeted, and she's doing some great work there. So there's still lots going on. Kind of take it up a notch from the heaviness of what we've been working on. What else have we seen lately? Lots of Senate bills that people went to bat for,
and against.
Well, and fiery session. Session's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And and I was going to say that here we are, May the 5th. Sine Die is the last Friday in May. I don't know, since I have left the legislature, I've kind of not kept up with a whole lot of what's going on. I've kept up with some bills and fought against some of those, worked for some, but I don't know where they are in the budget process, and they've got to have a budget before they can leave. So deadline is this Thursday. So everything from the opposite chambers has to be out of the opposite chamber by this Thursday or Friday, maybe, if they have to extend it. I don't anticipate them extending that. They try not to. So anyway, deadline is Thursday. And then that means that after that, they will begin working on all of the budget bills and getting all of that finished. And so we will see it wrap up here pretty quickly. What is there, 5 weeks in? I think there's 5 weeks in May. And so we're at week 1. So so we've got 4 more weeks of possible time in the legislature, and then we'll see where everything shakes out. I'm interested to see what all ends up getting signed by the governor.
Me too.
If there's anything that goes back to him or back to the legislature for veto overrides, that's going to be interesting. And so maybe we'll have some things to talk about in the next couple of weeks, and we'll talk about vetoes and veto overrides and how that process works.
I'd love to talk. And I think too, it'd be great to start a tradition. And I encourage you all at the end of session, maybe start telling the legislators the things you liked. All session, we told them what we didn't want, what we didn't like. Maybe that's the time to encourage them to come and speak, put together donations for them for the next campaign. House of Representatives run every 2 years for office. That is tough.
Yep.
That's a tough thing to do. So maybe we take some time and encourage the strong ones. We had several who didn't have any bills heard, who are very conservative. We still need to encourage them, because how tough is that to stay in the fight when you're there trying to get your bills heard and do good things for your people, and you're completely shut out without the opportunity. And there's still that has to be defeating. But all of them look like they're ready for the next battle to come. So I'm not too worried about them.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to do some encouraging. Didn't one of the ladies tell us about some handwritten notes? She worked in, she was in LA, or she worked in the house or in their capital. And she said when someone would come in with a handwritten note, she was like, oh, great. No, because they carried so much weight with that representative or senator when they had that handwritten note. And she'd say they could completely sway someone's mind with a sweet, well-written note. And I thought that was funny, because she said, we just knew when that handwritten note came, it was like, no. But so things like that.
Yeah. Another point that I wanted to make tonight is that the Senate seats that are going to be up for grabs in 2026 are the even numbered seats.
Okay.
And so if your house is an even numbered seat, then your legislator, your senator is going to be up. And
so Senate, even number seats, House, all seats, because they're every 2 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So
that's good to know too.
Yep. Odd was in 24, even is in 26.
And if you need to look that up, Oklahoma, you can Google Oklahoma voter portal, go to their website, go to the portal and enter your first name, last name, and your date of birth. It'll tell you always upcoming elections. It'll have sample ballots when there's an upcoming election. It'll show all your voting history, which you can always double check, make sure you were counted. And then it'll tell you everything right down to your school district, your city council ward, your VOTEC district, if you have a VOTEC or a career tech. All of it is right there. It's such a great thing that Oklahoma implemented.
Yeah.
You can change your address, register. It's just an amazing portal.
Yep, it is. Ballotpedia also has a lot of information that you can look up. I just encourage everyone, like you said, serving in the legislature is definitely a thankless job. You get paid for it, but it means more to us when we get, like you said, handwritten notes or an email or a phone call just saying, hey, thank you for your service. We appreciate you. Usually about the only people that we hear from are the people who hate us, mostly people that hate us. And then we hear from people who want us to either support or not support a bill. And those are not very often that you hear from an individual. A lot of times they are the emails that are the form emails where they're not personal,
Yes, I used to get those on the Board of Education all the time. It was the same email.
Tell your
times.
representative, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it means so much to the members to get a thank you because they get so many people that just tell us how horrible we are.
And I did appreciate the form. I'm not saying that I didn't appreciate the form. I did appreciate that someone took the time to send an email, but it feels like they were put up to it when that happens, rather than when they write and say, hey, this is happening, or I'm really concerned about this. Those just have a personalized meaning. So,
I agree with you that the form emails, I'm not kicking anybody for sending those because that's engagement. But the personal ones that are the handwritten or the personal emails, those are really just few and far between, and they mean a lot.
How much time do we have left?
Yeah, we have 2 minutes left, 2.5 minutes. Yeah.
What happened?
I don't know. Anything else that we need to say?
I think that I'm looking forward to, there's a lot of trainings coming up this summer, and that's what helped me really understand politics and how things work, is attending different meetings and different trainings. We have a lot of great groups in Oklahoma. At some point, I would like to be able to get you a link to click where you could see what meeting groups are near you that are conservative that you might enjoy. Goals. We're still working on some formatting and different things like that, but
I do want to reiterate that we want to do a screening of the video that we saw while we were in
Yes.
Arizona.
So watch for
And
news on
so
that.
watch for news on the screening, and we will secure a location.
And we want to
And-
feed you. So, you
Yep.
know, we all know if there's food, you guys show up. I don't know
Yep.
what it is. It can just be pizza and sandwiches, and you will show up if there's a
Yep.
meal. So we will feed you and maybe even have dessert. But
Yeah.
it's an important,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah, it was very powerful.
educational. Yeah.
She did a great job with it, and yeah, you can tell that she's very passionate about it. And so yeah, I think it's important information for everyone to have. And so yeah, anything else?
We'll be putting that together. I don't think so. I think that's really all we had.
Now you'll be out of town.
I'll be out of town
on Monday.
and
so it will just be me, but I will have somebody with me, and we'll figure out who that's going to be. And I completely forgot about getting that scheduled, so that so we'll put something together, and it'll be me and somebody else, and we'll have a good chat.
All right.
We'll miss you.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited. But
Okay.
we will see. I will see you in 2 weeks. Sherrie will see you in 1 week here on Liberty Hill. Continue fighting for your family values, your faith, freedom, and your liberty.
Yes.